Tonight, Syrians in Saskatchewan react to a seismic political shift. A new study wants to know, how impaired are you when you eat edibles, and for how long?
The last night of the air storm.
It's over. Taylor Swift wraps her 2-year world tour. We look at its financial impact.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, December the 9th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening and thank you for watching. Over the weekend, the world watched as rebels swept into the capital city of Syria. It led to the collapse of the Syrian government after 13 years of civil war. Chris Edwards has more.
I wish them the best. I hope that Syria remains and become even better in the future, that's all.
Syrian Canadians are watching historic events unfold. That includes Regina cafe owner Noor Mitri. He says now is the time for reflecting and rebuilding their country in a way that allows for prosperity and peace. Over 13 years ago, the Syrian civil war began. It led to the death of more than 500,000 people. It also kicked off one of the largest refugee crises of the 21st century. More than 6 million Syrians fled their country, thousands of them coming to Canada. Ali Karsa was one of those refugees. He landed in Saskatoon. The question for him now is if and when he should return to Syria.
Is it going to become a better country? For me as a Syrian Canadian, am I going to be able to visit my country and rebuild my house, do something good for my country in the future? No one really knows yet.
Canada is home to nearly 100,000 Syrians, including refugees. According to the most recent census, about 1,200 of them are in Saskatchewan. Noor Mitri came to Canada as an immigrant before the Syrian civil war. Since then, he's built a successful cafe business in downtown Regina. He's also watched the growth of the Syrian Canadian community, and he says that part of the way forward now is reframing how they understand themselves.
I hope that we see less and less of the sentiment of tribalism that we're seeing. I belong to this group and we want everybody to see history from our perspective. Rather, let us find a way through truth and knowledge to build Syria forward.
Mitri doesn't have immediate plans to visit Syria, but hopes to in the future. In Saskatoon, Rana Mustafa teaches at the University of Saskatchewan. She's a former professor at Al Baath University in Syria. Mustafa is also encouraging people to reject a tribalist mindset as Syria rebuilds.
We are resilient, we are different, and our strength is in our differences and diversity.
In a statement, Federal Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said, Canada welcomes the end of the Assad regime in Syria, a regime that has inflicted decades of suffering on its own people. As for what happens next in Syria, the country is now controlled by insurgent groups, and Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has fled to Russia. Chris Edwards, CBC News, Regina.
Parts of our province have been hit with another winter storm. Freezing rain and snow has left a mess in much of south and central Saskatchewan. The storm made highways treacherous, leaving some vehicles in need of rescuing on Monday morning. Parts of highways like number 1 and Highway 11 between Regina and Saskatoon were closed Sunday and Monday. Saskatchewan RCMP received more than 50 reports of weather-related incidents and crashes as of Monday morning, and police are reminding you to slow down on slippery surfaces or in reduced visibility. And our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins us now. Just how much rain and snow did we get from this system?
Well, it kind of depended where you were, Sam. East central parts of the province, especially into the Parkland region, some higher amounts there, upwards of 25 centimeters around Bredenbury. We had reports kind of few and far between, but generally 5 or so centimeters in places like Merrifield, Outlook, and Saskatoon. For Regina, this system largely coming as rain and almost 10 millimeters in some parts of the city. That might just break actually a one-day December rainfall record that we have. That is 9.7 millimeters set back in the 1920s. And again, these are volunteer reports that are coming in. This data is from Environment Canada, so not official yet. With that 25 centimeters of snow that came in Bredenbury, the most snow that area has received in one day in December is around 20 centimeters, so possibly breaking a record there as well. Now, we're not quite done with the snow yet, Sam, and of course, after all this comes some pretty chilly weather as well. I'll have the details on that coming up.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
With the high cost of living and dropping temperatures, homelessness encampments are popping up. In Regina and Saskatoon, first responders are keeping track of how many camps there are, and numbers are up. Hoina Mahalik explains.
The temperature is getting colder, and people without a place to go are trying to stay warm. Homeless encampments are popping up more these days in Saskatchewan's major cities. In Saskatoon, the fire department has kept track of more than 1,200 of these camps so far this year. That's about 200 more than last year. The city's fire marshal says their team has to check on freezing people outside every night.
Just last week, we did identify one individual that was sitting on a sidewalk, wrapped up in a blanket. When we engaged in a conversation, it was very quickly recognized that that individual was very cold. So we did our best to make sure that we provided them some warmth right away, and we did end up connecting them to a warm place to stay.
As of last week, there were 25 encampments on the record in Saskatoon and 12 in Regina. The Regina Street Team has confirmed most encampments in that city are in North Central. The street team is also focused on getting vulnerable people the resources they need to survive.
We can't expect people to be making high-level decisions when they're starving or they're not sheltered. First, you have to address those immediate basic needs that all human beings share. Once you can address those immediate needs, then perhaps you can start having a conversation at a bit of a higher level and trying to figure out what some kind of a long-term plan is.
The Ministry of Social Services says it's in constant contact with frontline organizations in places like Regina and Saskatoon, and it's working to connect people in need to emergency shelters, as well as detox and mental health services. The province also points out it's provided money to major cities for emergency winter response plans. Those include overnight warming centers. Hoina Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Ministry of Health is bringing in 2 doctors from out of province to investigate workplace culture at Regina's hospitals. The consultants will come from Ontario and Nova Scotia. It follows complaints about conflict and lack of professionalism. Health Minister Jeremy Cockrell says the issues go beyond one doctor's conflict with another, pointing to broader issues.
Certainly there's been allegations of racism as one example, in the physician community over the last number of years. Certainly that's something that we take very seriously.
I think these concerns need to be taken very seriously, and we raised these issues a year ago. And so, we need to see swift action when complaints like this are taking place.
The opposition raised concerns last November after 10 doctors at the Regina General Hospital, all of them trained in Africa or East Asia, reported racism and discrimination from hospital leadership. The doctors filed a human rights complaint over it. The review is expected to be finished by spring. A USask research team wants your high scores. It's for a new study using a state-of-the-art driving simulator to measure how high people get after eating cannabis gummies. Jeremy Warren has more.
There's a lot of research on smoked cannabis and the impacts on driving, but very little on the effects of edibles.
University of Saskatchewan professor Alexander Krizel is readying the next study happening at the Driving Research and Simulation Lab. He and his team want to feed people weed gummies and test their driving skills while stoned. They do it using a special driving simulator to perform basic moves like changing lanes and merging.
We also have a battery of tests where we can look at how people can think, and we kind of stress them out a little bit to see how well they perform under a certain amount of stress. And that kind of gives us a good indication of how much the edibles are impacting their ability to think and drive.
The study is co-funded by CAA. According to SGI, more than 1,500 people had vehicles impounded and licenses suspended after failing roadside THC testing last year. The Auto Club wants to use the study in a future national campaign aimed at young drivers.
There was a CA poll that showed that young drivers think that they can drive just as good or better when they're high. So, and that's increased by 10% since 2021. So there's a real need for research.
They are still looking for people to sign up, specifically those between 19 and 30 who have not consumed cannabis or other drugs for at least 3 days.
We'll actually see how long the effects last and how pronounced they are. At what point is the height of the effects and when do they start to taper off? We do know studies say the effects will last up to 10 hours, but we really don't have any clue what that means for driving impairment.
The study starts in the new year, with results expected in the spring. Crizzle says everyone who takes part gets snacks and a free cab ride home. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Saskatoon.
We get to spend the last night of the Eras Tour with 60,000 beautiful people in Vancouver.
It is the end of an era as Taylor Swift's epic 2-year-long Eras World Tour came to a close last night in Vancouver. Forget the number of friendship bracelets exchanged. How much money did this tour generate? We have the details after the break. Stay with us.
Thank you so much, Vancouver.
Welcome back. It started in March of 2023 and ended last night in Vancouver. Of course, I'm talking about Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. 149 performances on 5 continents and a record breaker in terms of attendance and profit. Scott Peterson sings the praises of that.
The world might never see another tour like this one. This is one for the record books for a lot of different metrics, also making Taylor Swift a billionaire as well. But let's take a look at some of the numbers from the Eras Tour and how much it garnered. And a lot of people think this is beyond concert revenue. It's almost in the stratosphere of an Olympics or the Stanley Cup coming to the world. Take a look at some of these numbers. Over 10 million people attended the concerts around the world. And for the concert itself, this is interesting. The average price that the concert garnered was $204, the average price. Not the astronomical numbers that we like to talk about, the thousands of dollars for those tickets. All that profit went to Ticketmaster, Live Nation, or StubHub. $2.2 billion still is the revenue that these concerts garnered. That is a world record, beating Coldplay by double. Coldplay had 156 shows with their Music of the Spheres. Also, Forbes estimates that Taylor Swift is now a billionaire, estimating her net worth at about $1.6 billion. No doubt a deserved rest, not retirement, not likely, but a deserved rest after all those shows. Scott Peterson, CBC News, Toronto.
Ski season is well underway in most of the country, including Ontario, but with warmer winters in recent years in that province, for some resorts, snowmaking machines have become an integral part of the business. Tyreek Reed reports.
It looks like this year, with the forecasts and the temperatures that are in place, we should be wide open for the holidays.
Those are words that snowboarders and skiers have waited all year long to hear, many finally returning to the slopes. And despite some mild temperatures and dry conditions across the province, ski destinations like the Horseshoe Resort say this year they're relying on their own snow to keep things running.
We have, from one end of the resort to the other, all new semi-automated snowmaking system, and it really allows us to make a lot of snow in a short period of time.
He says without the machines, the resort wouldn't have opened as early as it did because of warm temperatures the province has seen, which has left some businesses preparing for worst-case scenarios, even if they're pricey.
We're in the second year of a multi-year, multi-million-dollar investment in snowmaking. So our operators have done a lot of what you see behind me. We have twice as many snow guns on that trail, and we're building that up across the resort. So yeah, it's all about being efficient and responsive to what Mother Nature does hand us each winter.
She says the past 2 seasons were challenging for ski resorts across the province, but says this year weather conditions could finally see business return to normal.
I think we're looking at the forecast and listening to every meteorologist who will talk to us. And grateful to hear that with a La Nina winter, we're going to see a lot of natural snowfall and those cold temperatures where we can be making snow. So it's going to pay off being a skier or a rider this season.
And a snowy season also means a busy one.
We're out here and we're skiing, and the conditions are pretty good for preseason, and it's any bonus day before Christmas is awesome.
Yeah, so much fun, great activity.
Yeah, come ski and snowboard, have fun, yeah.
Businesses say if people want to ski this winter, then it's best to book a trip soon while there are still spots left. Tyreek Reed, CBC News, Toronto.
The weather update is brought to you by Capital Ford Lincoln. Year-end clearance is on now.
Well, we We know all about making snow here in Saskatchewan, though maybe we don't need as much help this winter. Our weather specialist Ethan Williams joins me now. We got lots of snow.
Got lots of snow, got the cold temperatures, as they mentioned there, to make that nice snow as well at ski resorts across the province. And hey, some good news. If you are looking to hit the slopes, well, you're in luck, because out at Mission Ridge near Fort Capel, they are now open out there right now, and all runs out there at Mission Ridge are open as well as their tubing park that they have out there as well. Out near the Battlefords, Table Mountain, not open quite yet, but that is going to be on Saturday, December 14th. They're open for the weekend, closed for the first part of next week, and then they'll be open toward the holiday season after that as well. So lots of activities going to likely be happening, and I know lots of school groups depend on those ski hills as well. So lots of fun to be had out there. Not a lot of snow happening, though, on the radar right now after our rain-snow mix that we had this past weekend. Lots of cloud cover, though, was the dominant feature Monday through the province. We are, though, expecting a little bit more snow and quite a bit more cold weather on the way. You see this big cold front stretched across northern Saskatchewan. That continues to move southward. You can see that pretty well defined here on the outlook board, because we have clearing skies thanks to high pressure in behind that. So for northern Saskatchewan, going to be a pretty cold night tonight. Some overnight lows down into the -20s, feeling like the -30s. That front is going to push a little bit of snow into portions of southern Saskatchewan as we head overnight. And then as we head through the day into Tuesday, temperatures through south and central are likely going to drop through the day as that front moves through. As this area of high pressure moves in, you see how eastern sections of the province here are going to stay clear, and that'll keep us quite cold Wednesday into Thursday. Some relief from the cold out west, but we will be getting some snow flurries moving through southwestern and west central portions over these next couple of days. And then finally that high moves away and our temperatures will start to rebound. But here's a better idea of kind of how this temperature trend is going to play out as we head into early Wednesday morning. You see these, the white colors here, these kind of lighter blues. That gets us well down into kind of that -30 territory for temperatures. Factor in a little bit of wind. Probably parts of eastern Saskatchewan going to be feeling closer to -40. With the wind chill, of course. Now, snow-wise, it's not a whole lot more. Overnight into Tuesday, I think a lot of us may be picking up in the 1 to 3 centimeter range. And again, it's mostly skewed a little bit further eastward into the province. But we factor in the wind. Of course, I was talking about that wind, and it will be gusty at times. As that front moves through overnight Monday into Tuesday, we're noticing those winds pick up 40, 50 kilometers an hour. So again, temperatures likely going to feel all that much cooler as those winds stick around, even into Tuesday afternoon. And then as high pressure starts to take over for Wednesday, thankfully those winds begin to back off. So for Regina, that leaves us with a forecast that looks something like this. Couple of days closer to -20 for our highs here, with temperatures dropping back at night down well into the -20s, feeling like -30. But the good news is it doesn't last long, because we get back to more seasonal conditions into the weekend. Same for Saskatoon, although I think you'll escape kind of the worst of the cold. You're a bit further west with a bit more cloud cover and maybe some more snow on the way, Sam, but at least a return to -single-digit temperatures.
Yes, please.
On the way.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Let's go, let's look at the show. We're riding in a wonderland of snow.
'Tis the season for great light displays, and this one in East Regina takes a year to plan out. More than 20,000 lights and program music make up this display for Terry Burant and his family. Burant uses the display to raise donations for the Canadian Cancer Society. To date, they've raised more than $13,000 for cancer research and support programs. They hope this year to reach even more Christmas lovers with his extravagant display and to inspire people too. Stay with us. We will be back after the break. A former CEO with the Wascana Centre Authority and the Saskatchewan Sports Hall of Fame inductee will be the province's next lieutenant governor. And though she's not in the job just yet, Bernadette McIntyre has some ideas about what she'd like to accomplish.
The lieutenant governor already gives a volunteer medal, but I think what I want to do is enhance volunteerism and encourage people to volunteer in many facets of our community, because it makes us stronger. And I do want to continue the wonderful work that His Honor has done on reconciliation. I have lots to learn there, but he's done a wonderful job, and we want to make sure that the position continues that healing for all peoples of Saskatchewan.
McIntyre will serve in the role representing the King in our province. She's replacing Russ Morasti, who has served as Lieutenant Governor for 5 years. The duties include swearing in cabinet ministers, opening each session of the Legislative Assembly, and providing royal assent to provincial bills. And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
Yeah, the temperatures begin to drop overnight through south and central Saskatchewan. You'll notice here, some warmer temperatures further south, but back into the minus teens, even a minus 20 in Meadow Lake overnight. That cold front already has been moving through northern Saskatchewan, and with a little bit of wind, this will feel closer to, well, minus 40 in some far northern locations, especially with a little bit of clearing sky and with lack of cloud cover to keep you a little bit warmer than those who are a little bit further east. You see temperatures not going to improve all that much through the day tomorrow. We'll probably get to around the minus 20 mark in some places, but back into the minus 20 to minus 25 range. Keep your eye on these temperatures in south and central, because instead of warming up through the day, our temperatures are just going to keep dropping back into the mid to upper minus teens by the noon hour Tuesday. And for some of us by the drive home, we are closer to minus 20 with a little bit of wind, of course, feeling that much cooler. Some sunshine, though, beginning to poke out before we have our much cooler, chillier, frigid even couple of days, Sam.
There's no such thing as a little bit of wind in winter.
No, there really isn't, is there?
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome.
Oh, that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.